The next question I'm often asked is, how long does the e-visa last? I have a very interesting answer to this. Now, all visas are temporary and they have a finite duration, with the exception of the e-visa. Now, some people, unfortunately, ages ago decided to name the green card, which is a permanent animal, an immigrant visa. That only confuses people. So don't think of it as a visa because despite the definition they use, it'll only confuse you. Green card versus visa. Visa has to end. For example, a student visa may have a DS on it, which means duration of study. It could have a set time, say 3 or 4 years. An L1 could have a 5 or 7 year duration. The e-visa can be indefinitely renewed. So that's the interesting thing about this visa. The only catch, which intellectually speaking I've never understood, you have to have a mental intent to return to your country of origin at some unknown time in the future. And in reality, what really goes on is people end up dying before that intent is manifested. I've never quite understood that, but it is what it is, and we have to accept it. So it can be renewed. However, it will never, ever, ever lead to a green card. They're parallel. They have nothing to do with each other. So how do you get around that? Well, one of the two ways to get around it is, let's say you bring in your spouse, and your spouse gets an offer for a permanent position, which is now taking quite a number of years. But when your spouse gets that, you will also obtain yourself a green card. Or you can do what we call the reverse L1. You set up an e-company, you make some money in the United States, then you set up either a branch in a foreign country or some other kind of business. And what you do then is you create a successful business. You are the executive or high-level manager of that business for a year. Now you can apply for the L because you're running international companies and you're the manager or executive of an international firm. So you can do that. A little bit more complicated, a little bit more costly, more resources involved. But those are two options that are available to you. But otherwise, it doesn't ever renew. So yes, the answer to that question is, if you then end up closing your business at some time, will you lose your visa? Absolutely. Can you rebuy another business and have someone run it for you? Yes, you're welcome to do that as well. So there are various options, but at every point in time, you must be covered by a visa. And if you want an investment visa, you have to keep that company running. Now, the next question I often get asked, what do I need to make the e-visa work? Well, you do need to make the investment. The money in the bank, as I stated, won't be enough. However, people state to me, well, what happens if I buy a business or start a business and they decline the visa? Well, there are ways of fixing your case. Maybe they wanted a larger investment. Maybe you need to get more inventory. Maybe you didn't have enough employees. Maybe you're doing too much of the front-end work yourself. You can remedy all of this. So that can be done, and sometimes a case can't be remedied depending on who put it together and how. And sometimes I suggest to clients, look, let's start again, and bingo, they win that one. So it's not the end of the world if you put together a good case, and we're very strategic about it. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is, and this is a trick that a lot of immigration lawyers don't know, but as we're also business lawyers, we thought of telling everybody this. When you're taking the lease on a property, for example, you can sign a contract with a condition that you add called a condition precedent. Precedent meaning coming before. So you can state that either I take this lease or I buy your business subject to the approval of the E2 visa. So let's say you're buying a business. In America, what we have, not only brokers who sell them to you, but we also have escrow companies that hold the money in trust, like in a lawyer's trust account. And that money isn't transferred until the conditions are met. So if you're buying somebody's business subject to the approval of the visa and the visa is denied, the money is never turned over to the seller of the company. So you're taken care of that way if you have that condition in there. So that takes care of that. Another question I'm often asked is, I don't have $100,000 or I don't have $250,000 for this kind of company. Can I borrow the money? Yes, but don't expect an American bank to loan it to you because They probably don't know who you are. Your credit rating doesn't exist in America. You know, there are many factors that get in the way. But let's say your rich uncle wants to loan you the money. Is that okay? Yes, as long as you are personally responsible for the loan and not under an LLC or a C corporation. So, in other words, you can't have another entity be responsible for your loan. You must be personally responsible. If you are, then it works. What if your aunt, instead of your uncle, likes you so much, she says, I'll just give you the money. Good luck in America. Go start your company. That's fine. But we have to be able to document this loan, or we have this gift, loan, whatever you got, and prove that it's legitimate, so that you're not just playing around with immigration laws and they're going to move money back and forth. So if it's legitimate, that's not going to prove to be an impediment to you getting the e-visa. What they're looking for is, again, personal responsibility for the money, and they want you to place the investment into action. You actually have to invest the money before they will even accept your applications. You either have to send them these contracts that state that you're on the hook for certain things, or, as is the case with most of my clients, they simply fax me a ton of receipts for all the computers, desks, this, that, everything that they've bought. And away we go. And yes, in certain companies, you can turn around and buy a company car. But buying a luxury vehicle for a floral delivery service, as one client was going to do, no, that's not going to work. You know, if a floral delivery service can work with a $15,000 or $20,000 van, you can't spend $65,000 on a car and say, well, this is my investment. I've only invested, $35,000 more into the business. Now, one of the things on that topic to look at is whether you're filing an E or an L, you need a business plan. You need to show, and we're going to have a separate program on that, you need to show the government what it is that you have in mind and how you're going to do it. They're going to look at the demographics that you're chasing. What's your marketing and advertising plan? What's your SWOT analysis? No, you don't have to be a business major. You don't have to be an expert in any particular field to invest in an E2 visa. You simply have to, have the money and want to make the investment and do it right. However, they're going to look at how you're going to do it, and that business plan is going to reveal how you're going to do it. And they're also looking for at least 3, and I would recommend 5-year financial projections, so that if you're losing money in the future, they understand why you're losing money, because you're executing on a certain marketing or branding plan, for example. And again, the business plan, if you've never done one before, this is not the time to start. I have seen so many business plans that they just look too homemade. Yes, you can buy software, but it's not going to provide you with what you need, because